Hi, it's Tara Green, and I'm here to talk about the really amazing Sagittarius total solar eclipse happening December the 3rd and the 4th. So December the 3rd at 11:43 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on the 4th at 2:43 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then add 5 hours for Greenwich Mean Time. So it is very powerful. It's at 12 degrees of Sagittarius. That's conjunct something called the Great Attractor, a very mysterious, rare space anomaly. The scientists don't even know what it is. It is attracting all the galaxies for millions and billions of miles around, light years around to it, and it allows us the chance to look ahead. It bends time so we can see into the future. It's also connected to the Archangel Uriel, which is the fixed star Antares at 9 degrees of Sagittarius, so that's also very important. And it also is right on the U.S. ascendant to the degree. So this is exactly where Pluto was at 9/11. So this eclipse has a lot of powerful energy for America. And of course, when America was funded here, I have the original, the Sibley chart. Uranus was also in Gemini, directly opposite that. And so it can be another psy-op, a black swan event going on in the US, I would say. But for the rest of us, there's some pretty powerful magical energy here. The sun and the moon will square Neptune, and Neptune is at its standstill, having just turned direct, actually, and so it's very, very powerful. So when planets are at their standstill, virtually not moving, it's been doing that since the first, they are extremely powerful. So the ability to envision and to dream and to imagine and to go to these places like the Great Attractor, to understand kind of the mysteries and understand what the universe is all about. I mean, that is the Sagittarius mission, to ask the questions, to probe into the meaning of life, to launch those arrows higher, the arrows of truth and justice. And so a solar eclipse, when the daylight consciousness that the sun provides is blocked out and we're plunged into a black dark moon while the eclipse is going on, it puts the shadow of what the projected positive, what happens in the daylight out, and it's like what we do in the shadows. So it's a super dark moon. In Sagittarius, of course, it is all about truth and justice and immigration and the kind of false flags, I would say, that America hides behind and that we hide behind as well. So it gives us an opportunity to go deep into questioning what our own aspirations are, what makes us happy, what inspires us, higher education, philosophy, justice, history, needing space, needing to travel, needing, to connect with each other internationally, and to, give ourselves the space to kind of be our own beings. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. It is the sign of religion and faith. So if we've lost faith in humanity or in ourselves, which is kind of what the sun and the moon symbolize, then this is an opportunity to do some deep questing, like a vision quest, into the true, like the heart of darkness, I would say. And we can see there's a lot of darkness around. But to find inspiration and really find out what's really going on. Now, Neptune, of course, in Pisces since 2011 has brought all this fake news, smoke and mirrors show. It rules viruses, things like that. Now, Jupiter is in Aquarius, ruling this Sagittarius eclipse. So Jupiter wants us to expand our connections. It rules cryptocurrencies and inventions and, higher consciousness. And then because Jupiter is in Aquarius, it is then overruled by Saturn, which rules Aquarius, Saturn in Aquarius there. So Saturn very powerfully there, kind of the old tradition, but reinventing the new. Okay. Now Saturn and Uranus are still in their square at this eclipse. They will reach their final square in December. So that tension between the old and the new and the assets and the food and the values and the housing and, the inflation, that's a Neptune thing as well, is all that what's going on. Now, an eclipse lasts 6 months, and eclipses reoccur in 18 plus year cycles. So you want to think back about what you were doing in 2003. And if you come to the workshop I'm doing, which is on December the 2nd, tonight at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with the Cosmic Intelligence Agency, I will go much deeper into, the history, what is that all about, very interesting, actually, connections historically to the sequence of, these eclipses. Sorry, what just happened there? Hey, okay, sorry about that. Yeah, so you can see on this chart, this is the traditional U.S. Sibley chart, July the 4th, 1776, Philadelphia, 5:10 p.m. That's on the inner plane there, and then you can see the transits of the outside. Now, besides this eclipse being right on the U.S. ascendant and that 9/11 having a marker, it is also in conjunct to the U.S. sun, which is at 13 degrees of Cancer, which is also connected to the biggest, most beautiful star in the sky called Sirius. And it's also in conjunct to Uranus and Taurus, which is at 11 degrees. So Uranus and the sun in Cancer, Uranus in transit, and the sun from the Sibley traditional chart are creating what's called a finger of God to the sun, and the moon and Mercury is very close nearby there as well. So a finger of God is where, like literally like it sounds, you know, God is pointing his finger at you going, hey, you got to get this now, okay? You can see also Venus and Pluto in Capricorn, especially Pluto moving up very close to having its, you know, first Pluto return. That's February 22nd, 2022. That's the first of 3 exact hits that Pluto will make to the U.S. sun. So basically it is revolution point 2 and the U.S. getting back to where it was originally when the Declaration of Independence was signed. And it was signed July the 4th, 1776, because they were Masons and they wanted the sun to align with Sirius, which is part of the ancient Egyptian worship Osiris. Okay, and if you've been to Washington, D.C., you know that that city is totally laid out in Masonic structures. And all the symbols in Washington are all very ancient Egyptian, mystical symbols. Okay, you can see that Jupiter is on the U.S. moon as well. The moon means the people, their moods, their feelings. The U.S. is an Aquarian nation. Okay, it is not really all that traditional mom and apple pie stuff, which it was, or it purports to be. In some sense, it is the homeland in a way. But everybody escaped religious persecution, or the original pilgrims who came to America escaped religious persecution, so they wanted freedom. And that's very much in this U.S. chart. So whatever we're feeling that we can't fly, literally these days, so we're not free, we are going to challenge all of that by looking deeper into what's being covered up. The eclipse will uncover things that are being covered up. And I'm not just talking about any conspiracy theories. I'm talking about real evidence. Sagittarians like to dig deep, kind of like they want to know, like Mars in Scorpio wants to know the truth. And Mars is trining Neptune. So again, what is real and what is an illusion? Mars and Scorpio are very powerful there in its own sign, 23 degrees. I'm going to get to the bottom of this. I'm going to not stop asking questions, which is very Sagittarius as well. Lilith is at 10 degrees of Gemini opposite the sun and the moon there. 14 degrees Gemini. She's very powerful there. Again, in Gemini, she represents that, duality that women have, that they are not mothers or whores. And then it's about talking about it. It's about talking about fear and projection and what you've demonized, because that's Lilith is the receiver of all the patriarchal projections of fear of women being independent. And all Lilith really wanted, she is the original woman. She just wanted equality. So we want to get back to that equality and that fairness. And, Sagittarius, it sounds like the old Superman, TV show, truth and justice in the American way. That's what it's supposedly all about. Well, is that real? Saturn is also sitting on the transit of this eclipse on the U.S. South Node. It's pretty close to 8, 9, 10 degrees of Aquarius there. The U.S. chart was meant to evolve into being a Leo nation, a sign of kings, even though it got away from the monarchy. It is the sign of kings and world leaders and big-hearted and supposedly all of that, right? Now, Neptune is also opposite the U.S. Neptune. You can see that as well. So, cue the fog and mirror show, cue the inflation, cue the debt, cue the, money not being worth anything. There will be big debt coming up. The effects of this eclipse last 6 months at least. The South Node is connected to Ceres. And again, this is about food. Now, that is both in Gemini. So we're at the end of this series of Sagittarius Gemini solar and lunar eclipse that have been going on for the last year and a half. They repeat every 18 months. The nodes of the moon, which are responsible for creating eclipses, move backwards in the zodiac, and so they are finishing out North Node in Gemini at 1 degree, connect to Ceres there. Hang on a second. Okay, I'm looking at 2 different charts at once. Okay, so we need to honor the earth and our ideas and mother and nurture and foster that sense of being able to dialogue and ask 2 questions at once and, compare things and not go into opposition. We're all being forced into these oppositional phases. The South Node, again, is at the last degree of Sagittarius. So really, this is a releasing South Nodal total eclipse. Rahu is the North Node, the dragon's head, and Ketu is the dragon's tail. So we are releasing old ideas about history and justice, and it's being repealed and rewritten. But we want to also take stock of the past history. We don't want to throw it all out. It's like, what can we learn? How can we innovate? Jupiter and Aquarius, we need to innovate and build on the old. You don't just throw the baby out with the bathwater. So I hope you'll come and join me. I'm going to do a very deep dive into the connection of this eclipse with the Great Attractor, which to me has totally fascinated me. All of these big galactic anomalies. Philip Sedgwick is the astrologer. He also works with astronomers. He gets to name these outer space phenomena. Actually, he writes about them very eloquently. Since I first heard about the Great Attractor, I went, wow, talk about the law of attraction. And because it is so mysterious, of course, it's a total Sagittarius fascination. So I will take you on a guided meditation to go way, 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 way out there to the Great Attractor so we can see what's going on up ahead. The Great Attractor has so much gravity and so much mass it actually bends light, and we're able to see around it. The Great Attractor and a whole bunch of other galaxies are in something called the zone of avoidance, which sounds totally Neptunian to me. Zone of avoidance, so it kind of perfectly describes the energies that are going on at this solar eclipse. And what you want to do is use the symbols of the planets as those kind of iconic markers. And Spirit speaks in puns. So, that sense of what are we avoiding? What are we not seeing? What don't we want to see? What's too scary to see? Where are we kind of Mars in Scorpio, where we are, using our power, misusing our power, or what are we doing with it? Mars in this chart is on the cusp of the 12th house, so I would say it's very much in the 12th house. So this is anger that gets turned inward and isn't expressed, and energy has to go somewhere. The South Node of the Moon in this chart is also in the 12th house with Vesta, so the root word of investment. So again, old ideas about, again, education, religion, free speech, the basic tenets of democracy. Where is that going? It feels like it's going down a big vortex, into space at this point. And yet this is the very things that need to be addressed right now, especially in the U.S. It's not just the U.S., of course, but if you do have planets in very tight orbs during a solar or lunar eclipse, you only use 2-degree conjunction orbs for effect. So if you were born on December the 3rd or the 4th, any year, this eclipse will affect you very profoundly. It will affect, again, kids who were born around 9/11. So if you're only, September 11th, 2001, if you're only 20 years old, this eclipse will affect you very profoundly for the next 18 years. So 18 years from now, there will be another eclipse at the same degree. So that might be something you really want to think about. So again, or if you have any planets at 12 degrees, my moon happens to be there actually. I always felt like I should have been born in America before I knew about astrology, and half my family is American anyway. But there's that sense of the freedom and the energy and the sageness of American wisdom and religion and tradition and reading about, Zeus and all mystery and mythology and all that stuff that I really love. So still time for you to join. If you go to the Cosmic Intelligence Agency, you can sign up to come to this workshop tonight, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will be live. It's only $25 US. So in affiliation with the Cosmic Intelligence Agency, I have been doing monthly new and full moon workshops since the beginning of the year. So this one was a workshop, a webinar that I agreed to do with them a long time ago as part of their ongoing series. You might want to join the Cosmic Intelligence Agency because they have wonderful astrologers who give all kinds of workshops all the time throughout the year. They have a new free magazine that they're giving out. It's a wonderful organization. So if you join Cosmic Intelligence Agency, you get to go to all of these ongoing webinars for free. So I'm going to wrap it up right now. Chiron, the wounded healer in Aries, is also trining the sun and the moon. So there is a sense of great healing, deep healing going on, really going into the wounds, really looking at what's really hurting us and what we're really defensive about, what we're so scared to really find out about. But once we go into that deep wound, that's when the real authentic healing can start. Okay? All right. So I want to wish you all the best. If you want to get in touch with me, I'm at tarot.com. Please subscribe to me on my YouTube channel and follow me on my blog at infinitynow.wordpress.com. Sending you many blessings.